When the United States created the world's first nuclear bomb, it believed it had become untouchable, the ultimate power that no one could challenge. But that belief was wrong. That single explosion didn't just end a war, it ignited a dangerous global race. Today, around 10 countries possess the knowledge and capability to build nuclear weapons. Some helped each other, some stole secrets, but all of them relied on spies, deception, and secret deals. Today, we'll explore how these nations competed against one another to build the most dangerous technology on Earth. And we'll also look at the countries that came very close to achieving it, and those that might be next in line. This story truly begins in Germany in 1938. That was the moment when scientists first discovered nuclear fission. They realized that by splitting atoms, a chain reaction could release an enormous amount of energy. This discovery shook the entire scientific community. Just a year later, Albert Einstein sent a warning to the United States, informing the government that the Nazis could weaponize this new science. That warning led to the launch of one of the most expensive and secretive scientific programs in history, the Manhattan Project. It was a massive operation involving scientists from the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Nearly 1% of the entire US GDP was spent on this single goal. They knew Germany was already working on a similar program, but the Germans made very little progress. In May 1945, Germany surrendered without ever building a nuclear bomb. But in July 1945, the world changed forever. During the Potsdam Conference, where U.S. President Harry Truman, Joseph Stalin, and Winston Churchill were discussing the post-World War II world, Truman received a secret message. The Trinity test in New Mexico had succeeded. The United States had officially become a nuclear power. Truman informed Stalin, expecting him to be shocked, but Stalin simply nodded and said he hoped the U.S. would use it effectively against Japan. What Truman didn't know was that Stalin was already aware. Soviet spies had deeply infiltrated the Manhattan Project. Internally, Stalin was furious that the U.S. had built the bomb first. In August 1945, the United States dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, bringing World War II to an end. But as the dust settled, a new race had already begun. The Soviet Union became the second country to join the nuclear club. They had started their research as early as 1941, becoming suspicious when American and British scientists suddenly stopped publishing research on nuclear physics. They realized the work had gone underground. After witnessing the destruction in Japan, the Soviet program accelerated rapidly. Although they had stolen a large amount of data from the Americans, they didn't fully trust it. They feared that double agents might have fed them false information. So instead of relying completely on stolen designs, they verified everything with captured German scientists. They progressed much faster than the West had expected. In 1949, the Soviet Union successfully detonated RDS-1 in Kazakhstan, ending the American monopoly and officially beginning the nuclear arms race of the Cold War. You might assume the third country would be the United Kingdom, since the British were allies of the Americans. They had already done significant groundwork through a project called tube alloys. However, under the Quebec Agreement, they had to share their research with the United States. The agreement promised mutual cooperation, but in 1946, the U.S. broke that promise by passing a law that restricted the sharing of nuclear information. America wanted to keep its nuclear secrets to itself. Britain was shocked and realized that if it wanted to remain a global power, it had to act independently. With access to large uranium supplies and strong scientific knowledge, they moved quickly. In 1952, the UK tested its first nuclear bomb off the coast of Australia under Operation Hurricane, becoming the third nuclear power. But the game was already changing. The bombs dropped on Japan were fission bombs, but by the 1950s, scientists were working on something far more destructive: thermonuclear weapons, also known as hydrogen bombs. Instead of splitting atoms, these bombs fused them together, creating explosions hundreds of times more powerful. Scientists like J. Robert Oppenheimer warned governments not to pursue such weapons, cautioning that they could lead humanity toward destruction. But those warnings were ignored. In 1952, the United States conducted the Ivy Mike test, the first hydrogen bomb. The Soviet Union followed in 1955, and Britain in 1957. Humanity's capacity for destruction had increased dramatically. The fourth country to develop nuclear weapons was France. After feeling humiliated during global crises and pressured by superpowers, France decided it needed its own independent defense to be recognized as a major power. The United States strongly opposed France's nuclear ambitions and tried to discourage them, but President Charles de Gaulle remained firm. He believed nuclear weapons were essential for French sovereignty. France sourced uranium from its African colonies and pushed forward despite still recovering from World War II. In 1960, France tested its first nuclear bomb in the Sahara Desert in Algeria, sending a clear message to the world that it no longer depended on American military protection. The fifth country was China. China wanted nuclear weapons for defense, especially against the United States. Initially, the Soviet Union supported China, seeing it as a fellow communist ally. But relations deteriorated when Soviet leader Khrushchev criticized Stalin and sought better relations with the West. Mao Zedong strongly opposed this shift, accusing the Soviets of losing their revolutionary spirit. The alliance collapsed, and the Soviet Union withdrew all technical support, leaving China to figure things out on its own. Despite internal turmoil during the Cultural Revolution, China committed its resources to the nuclear program. In 1964, China shocked the world by testing its first atomic bomb at Lop Nur. Even more surprising, just 2.5 years later, it successfully tested a hydrogen bomb, the fastest progression from fission to fusion in history. The sixth country is perhaps the most mysterious: Israel. To this day, Israel has never officially confirmed that it possesses nuclear weapons, maintaining a policy of ambiguity. In the 1950s, with French assistance, Israel began building a secret nuclear facility in the Negev desert. American spy planes detected the construction, and President John F. Kennedy demanded inspections. Israel delayed and concealed its activities, building hidden underground facilities, with fake walls and secret elevators. Kennedy died before taking further action, and his successor, Lyndon B. Johnson, was more supportive of Israel. It is widely believed that by 1967, Israel had developed nuclear weapons. The world only gained strong confirmation in 1986, when a technician named Mordecai Vanunu leaked photographs of the secret facility to a British newspaper. Before the story could fully unfold, Israeli intelligence tracked him down. A female agent lured him to Rome, where he was drugged, kidnapped, and taken back to Israel. He spent 18 years in prison, but his actions revealed Israel's nuclear capability to the world. The seventh country was India. Surrounded by hostile neighbors, India felt vulnerable. After losing a war to China in 1962 and facing ongoing tensions with Pakistan, India began its nuclear research using a reactor obtained from Canada. While claiming it was for peaceful purposes, India conducted a test in 1974 in the desert, calling it a peaceful nuclear explosion, with the codename Smiling Buddha. The world reacted strongly, and both Canada and the United States imposed sanctions. India paused for some time, but later officially weaponized its program in the 1990s. It also declared a no-first-use policy, meaning it would not use nuclear weapons unless attacked first. The eighth country has one of the most unique stories: South Africa. By the 1970s, the country was isolated due to its apartheid policies. Surrounded by perceived threats and lacking global support, it decided to develop nuclear weapons as a form of ultimate security. With large uranium reserves, South Africa built 6 functional nuclear bombs by the 1980s. There are indications of a possible joint test with Israel in the Indian Ocean, but then the global situation changed. The Soviet Union collapsed and the threat of communism faded. The South African government, anticipating political change and the rise of Nelson Mandela, made an unprecedented decision. It voluntarily dismantled all of its nuclear weapons, destroyed the blueprints, and eliminated its arsenal. It remains the only country to have built nuclear weapons and then completely given them up. The ninth country was Pakistan. After losing half of its territory in 1971, Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto declared that Pakistan would develop nuclear weapons at any cost, even if people had to endure extreme hardship. The key figure in this effort was Abdul Qadir Khan, a metallurgist working in the Netherlands at a uranium enrichment facility. He accessed and copied highly classified centrifuge designs and brought them back to Pakistan, giving the program a significant head start. Pakistan also received support from China. The United States was aware of Pakistan's efforts, but chose to overlook them due to geopolitical interests during the Soviet-Afghan War. In 1998, shortly after India conducted nuclear tests, Pakistan responded with its own tests in the mountains, balancing the regional power dynamic. Unlike India, Pakistan does not follow a no-first-use policy, meaning it could use nuclear weapons even in a conventional conflict if necessary. The final country on the list is North Korea. Like others, its primary motivation was regime survival. The leadership believed that without nuclear weapons, it would be vulnerable to attack by the United States. Initially, North Korea received Soviet assistance for peaceful nuclear energy, but it later moved into complete secrecy. It signed agreements promising not to build weapons, only to later violate them. It is believed that it used designs obtained from Pakistan. In 2006, North Korea conducted its first underground nuclear test. The explosion was relatively small and considered by some experts to be a partial failure, but the country continued its efforts. It conducted larger tests in 2009 and 2013, and by 2017, it had tested a thermonuclear hydrogen bomb. Today, North Korea possesses intercontinental ballistic missiles that could potentially reach the United States. It is also the only country to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and successfully build nuclear weapons. But the story doesn't end with these 10 countries. There are others that either possess nuclear weapons indirectly or came very close to developing them. During the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union stationed nuclear weapons across various parts of the world. Even today, American nuclear weapons are deployed in countries like Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Turkey. Russia has also recently moved tactical nuclear weapons into Belarus. Several countries attempted nuclear programs but eventually abandoned them. Argentina and Brazil had military nuclear programs that were later discontinued. Sweden and Switzerland also explored the possibility. The Middle East has always remained one of the most volatile regions. Iraq pursued a nuclear program under Saddam Hussein, but in 1981, Israel launched an airstrike that destroyed the Iraqi reactor. In 2007, Israel carried out a similar strike in Syria against a secret facility believed to be built with North Korean assistance. Iran remains a major concern today, as it has been enriching uranium for years. Israel and Western nations have actively tried to slow down its progress. Another often overlooked country is Japan, considered a threshold state. Japan possesses advanced rocket technology and large plutonium reserves. Experts believe that if it chose to, it could develop nuclear weapons within months. However, its pacifist constitution currently prevents it from doing so. But if geopolitical conditions in Asia change, that could also shift. And finally, we cannot ignore what lies beneath the oceans. Treaties and inspections mainly focus on land-based weapons, but the real power of nuclear nations lies underwater. Countries like the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, China, France, and India operate nuclear-armed submarines. These submarines can remain hidden underwater for months and are nearly impossible to detect. They ensure that even if a country is completely destroyed, it can still launch a retaliatory strike from anywhere in the world. This is the concept of mutually assured destruction, a dangerous logic that has, paradoxically, maintained global peace for nearly 80 years. What began in a laboratory in Germany has now spread to every corner of the world. The nuclear club has grown from a single member to many. The technology itself is no longer rare. The only thing preventing the next country from joining this club is politics, not science.